Do you avoid conflict? Do you find that when you're in conflict with someone, you tend to internalize the feelings and become defensive? Hi, I'm Dr. Sharon Grossman. I'm a psychologist and success coach. And what I do is I help people to learn the skills to be more successful in every part of their life. And relationships are such an important part of our world. So let's talk about the 3 steps that you can take to really change your relationship with conflict so you don't have to continue avoiding or continue to be defensive. One of the things to recognize first and foremost is what is happening inside of you that is causing you to become defensive. So that's really step 1. And typically what we notice is that we feel accused of something that we didn't do. Maybe somebody's upset with us and they're coming at us and we're like, well, there's no reason for this because maybe they misunderstood, maybe they misinterpreted, maybe they're blaming us for something that happened that had nothing to do with us. And so we feel like there's this sense of injustice and we are trying to rectify this wrong. We start to see the situation as right or wrong. And so it's our job to clarify and to do so. But because we feel angry, because of the injustice, we tend to be reactive. We tend to then come at this person with, no, that's not what happened. I didn't do that. No, I spent all this time with you and I don't understand why you're getting angry. I mean, we did all these things. So you start to have explanations and try to tell stories about why they're wrong and why you're right and why they shouldn't feel the way they do. So the first thing is to recognize what this chain of events. 1 is that you're being accused of something, you feel like there's some injustice. 2, when you think of this injustice, it causes you to feel angry. And 3, because it's an injustice and you feel angry, you tend to become reactive and then defend your position. Again, this idea of I have to get them to have the right information. Now you have to understand not just yourself, but the other part is to really understand the other person. So they might be upset for a whole number of different reasons, and we don't really know what those reasons are. It might be because they really did think that you did something and maybe you didn't do it. It might be because you did part of what they're saying and you're so focused on preserving yourself that you're focused on the stuff that you did right, but trying not to take responsibility for the stuff that they're really upset about. So it's really a mix of things. And also we have triggers that come into the mix. So they might feel triggered because of something that you did, and as a result, they might be overreacting. And you're like, well, that's a really strong reaction. Why are they having such a strong reaction to this thing that's so minor, especially given everything else that I've done? So this morning, as an example, I was working with a client who talked about a friend who came and stayed with him from out of town, and then they went out and were part of some sort of a parade or celebration. And then what happened was that the guy who is my client, the local person, ended up just going home with his partner. But the friend ended up getting left behind. And so there was a lack of communication. And so the friend said, well, I felt really upset that you guys just left me there and you didn't tell me. And then my client said, well, I spent all this time with you and we were there and we were celebrating. So, was really defending himself. Now, the critical thing to recognize is, what is this friend that's upset? The person who's initiating the conflict is coming at you for a reason. So we already said understanding what's going on inside of you. The second step is to really go away from this idea of right and wrong and think about how could both of you be right, even partially. And then that takes you into step number 3, which is having empathy. So putting yourself in that person's shoes. And so I said to my client, well, how would you feel if you went out of town, stayed at somebody's house, went out to an event together, and that person just left you there? How would you feel? And then he was able to connect to feeling hurt, feeling abandoned, and was able to understand why this friend was upset. And so then he said, well, you know what? I actually have a friend who, started dating a girl, and as a result of that, like, our friendship is just not the same as it was. And so he was able to relate to how this other friend might be feeling because he's now in a relationship with a woman and the friend just maybe feels like a third wheel. So again, it was about encouraging him to communicate that, to build connection. And that's really the key here, is when we understand ourselves, when we get away from right and wrong, and when we attempt to understand the other person, and that could be either through just like, what is your hunch? And saying like, hey, is this how you're feeling? Is this why you feel this way? Or if you don't know, asking them. By doing those 3 steps, you are validating that person's experience rather than focusing on defending yourself. And then communication is the key that allows you to create connection. And at the end of the day, that's what we all want. So remember, step 1 is ask yourself, what is happening inside of me? What am I feeling? And why is there this desire within me to maybe be reactive or become defensive or get angry? Number 2 is, how am I thinking about this? Is it very kind of black and white? Is it like I'm either right or I'm wrong? And if he's right, then I'm wrong. And if I'm right, then he's wrong. Getting away from that and trying to be a little bit softer around the edges. And number 3, putting yourself in the other person's shoes, trying to figure out how they must be feeling, and then communicating in a way that allows you to build connection. Hope this was really helpful. Again, this is Dr. Sharon Grossman coming to you live, and I look forward to seeing you at our next video chat. If you want to catch up on old videos, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Coaching by Sharon, and that will also give you notifications for all of the videos yet to come. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care.